Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the fascinating and honestly pretty chaotic journey of Grant Lee. He is the CEO and co-founder of Gamma, which is this incredible tool that uses AI to turn a simple prompt into a gorgeous finished presentation. We're going to extract his exact step-by-step playbook for launching an AI startup in today's highly competitive landscape. Okay, let's jump right in.
Just listen to this quote. The sheer irony here is amazing. This is the incredibly harsh rejection Grant faced from an early investor, literally right before he truly began building his company. This investor essentially hung up on him, telling him there was absolutely no way he'd succeed against massive incumbents who already had distribution locked down. It was brutal feedback, especially considering this happened during the peak of the pandemic, right after Grant's wife just had a baby. But instead of quitting, Grant used it as absolute fuel.
Because fast forward to today, and we're looking at $2.1 billion. That's Gamma's current valuation, alongside a massive user base of over 100 million people. Talk about proving the haters wrong, right? This instantly proves the validity of the playbook we are about to break down. Grant took that early rejection, fully internalized the need to build a genuinely viral product, and created a massive success story.
So here is our structured roadmap for today. 1. Team first, idea second. 2. Finding product market fit. 3. The fundraising sprint. 4. Word-of-mouth growth. And 5. Scaling lean with generalists.
Chapter 1. Team first, idea second.
Grant's most counterintuitive piece of advice is to just completely ignore the hype of the solo AI founder. He strongly advises against building alone. Instead, he chose two co-founders he already knew from a previous job at a company called Optimizely. They obviously shared the same ambition and core values, but crucially, they brought highly complementary skill sets to the table. You really don't just want three developers sitting in a room. You need people who bring totally different perspectives so that the team itself can actually inform and shape whatever idea you eventually decide to pursue.
And here's the wild part. They didn't even lock into one idea immediately. The team actually tinkered with two totally different concepts simultaneously. Since it was the pandemic, one idea was a virtual office environment to emulate real-life collaboration, while the other was an AI presentation tool. For 6 solid months, they built both in parallel, basically dogfooding the products internally just to see which one actually had legs.
So how did they finally make a call? Well, they didn't just look at a spreadsheet of market sizes. They used what Grant calls the energy metric. With the virtual office, they kind of hit a ceiling of imagination. They just couldn't picture the roadmap past a few months. But with the presentation tool, they literally could not stop thinking about it. It gave them limitless enthusiasm. And that internal energy is exactly how you know an idea is actually worth dedicating years of your life to.
Chapter 2. Finding product market fit.
Okay, massive warning here. Once you have your team and your idea, you're naturally going to invite your network to try it out. But your friends? Yeah, they will lie to you. They don't want to hurt your feelings, so they're going to tell you your product is amazing. But Grant started noticing his friends weren't actually logging back in. So you have to completely ignore those polite compliments and rely entirely on actual user behavior. Look for the random freelancers or solopreneurs out there who are consistently coming back day after day.
So what does true product market fit actually look like? For Grant, it boils down to 2 very strict steps. First, organic growth. Is the product so incredibly good that users are naturally telling their friends about it without you spending a single dime? And second, willingness to pay. Payment is the ultimate exchange of value, right? If they actually put their credit card down, then you have something real. Until both of these criteria are met, spending any money at all on marketing or sales is entirely premature.
Chapter 3. The fundraising sprint. All right, so you've got that fit, but now you need capital to survive. For Grant, getting those first checks meant doing 100 pitches, 100! And he wasn't doing this comfortably in some fancy boardroom. He was living in a small London apartment. He'd literally put his kids to sleep around 8 p.m., and then from 8 p.m. until 2 a.m., he was on back-to-back Zoom pitches for almost 2 weeks straight, facing a rejection rate of over 50%. It was an absolute grind.
To survive that level of madness, Grant developed an exact survival framework for fundraising. First, you must set a strict time box, like 2 weeks. Do not let fundraising drag on indefinitely and become a distraction. Second, only one founder runs point. Having all the founders absorbing that daily rejection is just totally demoralizing for the team. And third, you have to go in with maximum momentum. Whether that's a flawless prototype or a massive spike in user signups, treat fundraising as a short-term sprint. Get it done and get back to building.
Chapter 4. Word-of-mouth growth. So money is in the bank. How on earth did Gamma acquire a massive user base of over 100 million people? Get this,
Zero paid marketing early on. Remember that early investor who warned about incumbents having all the distribution? Well, Grant really took that to heart. Gamma's early growth came entirely from organic word of mouth among early adopters. People used the product, they loved it, and then they shared the presentations they made with others. The tool effectively advertised itself just by being used.
To accelerate this organic growth, Grant adopted a super fascinating strategy. He actually became a content creator himself. He really wanted to deeply empathize with his target audience. So by building his own audience on X and LinkedIn, he learned firsthand just how hard it is to craft hooks and share authentic information. This actually allowed him to manually onboard influencers, directly teaching them how to use Gamma for their specific niches. The key takeaway here is providing actual value to your audience. Answer their real questions about AI. Don't just endlessly self-promote your own product.
Chapter 5. Scaling Lean with Generalists. Which brings us to the modern operational reality of Gamma today. 50. That is the incredibly lean employee headcount Gamma maintained, even as they crossed the massive milestone of $100 million in annual recurring revenue. Hitting $100 million ARR with just 50 people, that is a testament to an entirely new way of scaling a business in the AI era.
Their secret? They hired painfully slow, but they intentionally over-indexed in one specific area very early on. A full third of their early team were product designers. Why? Because Grant knew for sure that if the product was going to spread virally through word of mouth, it had to look and feel absolutely spectacular. The design experience literally had to abstract away all the friction of storytelling.
And they didn't just want narrow specialists either. They leaned heavily into hiring generalists. For example, their head of design is highly visual, sure, but can also code and test prototypes end-to-end. Generalists possess this deep empathy across different domains, which makes collaboration incredibly seamless. Plus, Gamma leverages AI agents to automate all those tedious, non-customer-facing tasks. That frees up their super lean human team to focus strictly on what humans do best: deep relationship building and consultative problem solving.
So if you were to start a company today, let's pull this all together into Grant's actionable 30-day playbook. Day 1, do not start with an idea. Start by assembling a complementary team that shares your values. By day 15, that team should be spending 100% of their time talking to potential customers, uncovering the true friction points. And finally, by day 30, you let those real customer conversations completely inform the final product idea you decide to build.
Which leaves us with this final, really provocative question straight from Grant's philosophy. The early days of a startup are basically a maze of walls and rejections. I mean, just think back to that early investor who hung up on him. The only way you push through all of that is if the work itself acts as your internal fuel. So are you building something that gives you the boundless energy required to survive? It is a truly crucial question to ask yourself before you write a single line of code. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this playbook sparks some incredible ideas for your own journey.